I used to think breaks were a mutual thing. A pause, a breath, a space where two people could step back and figure things out. That was before Megan told me she needed one. I'm 38, live in Billings, Montana. Work as an operations manager for a logistics company. It's not glamorous, but it keeps the lights on and the fridge full. Megan used to say she loved that about me. The way I showed up, stable and consistent, not flashy. Not like her ex. Funny how that turned out. She brought up the break like it was a relationship wellness tip she read online. Said she needed clarity, time to think. Maybe reconnect with parts of herself she'd lost. What she didn't say, what I didn't hear until weeks later, was that the part of herself she wanted to reconnect with had a name. Tyler, her high school boyfriend. The same guy who cheated on her with her best friend senior year, and then moved to Denver to figure things out. While I sat in our apartment, wondering if silence was still love, she was in Bozeman catching up with her past. 3 weeks. No calls. No texts. Not even a breadcrumb of explanation. I waited. I gave her space. I convinced myself that's what a good man does. And then I drove to Bozeman. That's where the story really begins. Bozeman's only 2 hours from Billings if you don't stop for gas or second thoughts. I didn't do either. Just drove, jaw tight, radio off, my mind flickering through every version of Megan I thought I knew. I wasn't looking for a confrontation. I just needed the truth, raw, ugly, and straight from the source. I found it on a Saturday. Her mom still lived in the same split level on the edge of town. White siding, blue shutters, like time had ignored the place. I pulled up mid-morning, heart beating like I was about to rob the place, and knocked. It wasn't Megan who answered. It was her sister. We were never close. She looked surprised, but not in a good way. I asked if Megan was around. She hesitated, then stepped outside, closing the door behind her like she was trying to keep something or someone. Said Megan had been staying there. Said she wasn't home. Said I should go. All with that brittle cheerfulness people use when they're hiding something and hoping you won't push. But I did. Just a little. I asked if Megan was with Tyler. She didn't answer. Just looked down, then back up like maybe she pitied me. Like I already knew the answer and was begging her to lie. That silence? That told me everything. I got back in my truck without another word. My hands were shaking, but not from surprise, from the confirmation. She wasn't figuring things out. She was reliving them. I didn't drive straight home. I parked at a rest stop somewhere off I-90 and just sat there, staring at the ring box in the glove compartment. I'd put it there the week before the break. Planned to take Megan to dinner, ask her to marry me. I even practiced what I'd say. Kept it simple, heartfelt, no big speech. Just us, finally sealing what we'd been building for 3 years. Now it felt like a prop in someone else's story. I opened the box anyway. Not sure why. Maybe I thought seeing it again would help me feel something other than numb. It didn't. The diamond looked cold under the gray plastic of the dashboard light, like it was judging me for being so foolish. I thought about all the little ways Megan had drifted before the break. The way she'd avoid eye contact when I talked about the future, how she never left her phone face up anymore, how she suddenly needed space right when Tyler came back to town. I hadn't put it all together then. I didn't want to. Love makes you stupid, and I was plenty in love and plenty stupid. I closed the box, dropped it in the cup holder like it was just another loose item I didn't know what to do with. Then I started the engine and headed home. She texted that night. First time in 3 weeks. Said she missed me. Said she'd been thinking a lot. Said she wanted to talk, maybe this weekend, if I was free. I didn't respond. Just stared at the message until the screen dimmed. Sunday morning, she showed up at my door like nothing had happened. Hair curled just enough to say she tried. That same old soft sweater she always wore when she wanted to seem harmless. A paper bag with pastries and that fake smile optimism I used to mistake for sincerity. I let her in, not because I forgave her. I just needed to see how far she'd go with the lie. She talked like we'd just had a minor disagreement. Said Bozeman had been good for her, like it was a spa retreat, not a reconnection with her ex. She said she'd realized she missed what we had. Not me. What we had. I didn't say much. Just listened. Nodded in the right places. Let her feel the illusion of control. Because something had shifted. Not in her. She was the same, still dancing around hard truths, still mistaking guilt for love. But in me, the part of me that once wanted to make it work had gone silent. Not out of spite, just exhaustion. I'd carried us long enough. Then she started talking about wedding venues. Like the last month hadn't happened. Like I hadn't driven 2 hours just to confirm that my gut was right and my heart was being played like a cheap guitar. She mentioned a rustic lodge near Flathead Lake. Said her friend could get us a discount. Pulled out her phone to show me photos, twinkle lights, wooden beams, scenic backdrops. She kept talking about colors and seating charts and cake flavors like we hadn't hit pause, and she hadn't gone looking for answers in someone else's bed. I asked one question. Are you still in touch with Tyler? Her mouth opened, closed, then twisted into that sad little girl look she used when cornered. She said they'd resolve things, whatever that meant. She said he was just a chapter she needed to finish. She said I had nothing to worry about. That's when I knew I was done. Because love, real love, doesn't require translation. You don't have to decode it or wait around for someone to stop chasing ghosts. You don't sit in silence while they play pretend. I stood up, walked to the kitchen, pulled the ring box from a drawer, and set it on the table between us. Her face fell, like she couldn't believe I still had it, like she thought she'd dodged that bullet and moved straight into the honeymoon planning phase without consequences. I told her I couldn't marry someone who saw me as a backup plan, that I deserved more than what we had, that I chose me this time. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just stared at the box, as if hoping it would open itself and explain why her old tricks stopped working. She left without saying much, closed the door quietly, which somehow hurt more than if she'd slammed it. I stood there in the kitchen for a long time after she was gone, staring at the empty space she used to fill, and felt something I hadn't in weeks. Relief. The first morning after felt like waking up in a house that had been robbed. Nothing was missing, but everything felt out of place. Her coffee mug was still in the sink. A sweater she'd left draped over the back of the couch, like she was just stepping out. But the air felt heavier, quieter, like the walls were waiting for her to speak and slowly realizing she wouldn't. I didn't touch any of it, not out of nostalgia. I just didn't have the energy to pretend it hadn't meant something once. I went about my day the way you do after something big implodes. Mechanically, poured cereal, fed the cat, checked my email, deleted her contact from my phone, and emptied the trash folder. That felt final in a way the ring never could. It wasn't sadness exactly, more like coming off a long fever. You're not quite yourself, but you're starting to remember who you were before it started. Around noon, I got a text from her mom. Polite, confused. Something like, Megan said things were complicated, but I had no idea it was this bad. I didn't reply. What was there to say? That her daughter had tried to circle back like this was a movie with a happy third act? That I'd almost let her? Later that day, I found a wedding binder Megan had left behind, tucked behind cookbooks in the kitchen. Still full of vendor lists, floral ideas, a mood board with smiles we'd probably never wear again. I sat on the floor, flipping through it, page by page. It didn't hurt. Not anymore. It just felt hollow, like watching a behind-the-scenes reel for a movie that never got made. Then I did something I hadn't done in years. I went for a walk with no destination. No phone, just the wind off the river trail and my own footsteps, steady and unsure all at once. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like I wasn't walking back to someone. I was walking toward myself. 3 days after she left, I got an envelope in the mail. No return address, but I knew the handwriting. That careful, looping cursive she used for thank you notes and birthday cards. For a second, I thought maybe it was a letter. An apology, maybe. Some attempt at honesty. But inside was something else entirely. A wedding invitation. Ours. Same font. Same cardstock we picked out together over coffee and Pinterest tabs. Except now she'd gone ahead and printed them. Mailed them. Acted like nothing had changed. I stood in the kitchen, staring at it like it might catch fire if I blinked hard enough. I flipped it over, checked the postmark. Mailed 2 days ago, which meant after I gave the ring back. After I told her it was over. She'd already decided how the story would go. She just hadn't bothered to check if I was still in it. Later that night, her best friend called. I hadn't heard from Rachel in months. Not since Megan started pulling away and the group text went quiet. She sounded hesitant but not surprised. Said Megan told her I'd been going through something, that I was confused and needed space. Asked if I was coming to the engagement party this weekend. I told her no. I said there was no engagement, that there was no wedding. She didn't ask for details. Just paused, let out a long breath, and said she was sorry. That was the first real acknowledgement I'd gotten. That maybe I wasn't crazy. That maybe someone else saw it too. The rewriting, the way Megan crafted new narratives like changing outfits. I put the invitation on the kitchen table, sat down across from it, like it was a person I didn't recognize. It stayed there all night, untouched, a paper monument to the fiction she was still trying to live in. I didn't tear it up. I didn't burn it. I just left it there. Because some things don't need to be destroyed to lose their power. You just stop pretending they're real. The following Saturday, I heard tires on gravel. Didn't think much of it at first. Maybe a delivery truck turning around. But then there was a knock, soft, like the person on the other side wasn't sure if they belonged there. It was Megan's dad. I hadn't seen him in almost a year. We'd never been particularly close, but there was always a quiet respect between us. He'd fix things around the house when he visited, show me fishing spots only locals knew. The kind of man who let his silence speak louder than any opinion. He looked tired, said he was just in the area, which was clearly a lie. His place was over 2 hours away. But I didn't call it out, just stepped aside and let him in. He sat at the table across from the wedding invitation, still sitting where I left it. Didn't mention it, didn't ask how I was. Just looked at me like he already knew. After a minute, he said Megan told him what happened, or her version of it, anyway. That she'd been confused, that things with Tyler had been emotionally complicated, that she still wanted to make it work. I asked him why he was really here. He paused, then said something that surprised me. She's trying to move back in. Said you just need time. I nearly laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was so predictably tragic. Like watching someone insist a ship can still sail after it's already sunk. I told him no, that I wouldn't be anyone's second choice. That the woman he raised was looking for comfort, not connection, and I didn't have anything left to give her. He didn't argue, just nodded like a man who'd seen his daughter burn too many bridges and was starting to run out of excuses for her. Said he respected my choice. Before he left, he asked if I wanted the ring back. Said Megan had given it to her mom, who'd given it to him. I shook my head, told him to keep it, or sell it, or toss in a lake. Didn't matter. That chapter was done. As he stepped out the door, he turned back and said he hoped I found someone who didn't make me question my own worth. I didn't reply, just watched him drive off down the long dirt road, feeling like a ghost had finally left the house. That night, I finally moved her things. Not in anger, not to erase her, just because it was time. Her books had been gathering dust on the shelves like they were waiting to be missed. Her half of the closet still smelled like lavender and hotel shampoo. There were hair ties in the silverware drawer, a single earring on the bathroom sink, receipts tucked into old coat pockets. Little echoes of her, scattered and unbothered, like she never really planned on being gone long. I didn't bag everything up or dump it on the curb. I wasn't bitter, just done. I folded things carefully, set aside what was obviously hers, and made a few neat boxes in the corner of the guest room. No note, no message, just quiet, deliberate closure. The next morning, I rearranged the living room. Moved the couch. Got rid of the rug she always hated, but insisted on keeping because it was stylish. Put my grandfather's old chair by the window, the one she said was too depressing, which was funny considering everything that followed. It wasn't about redecorating. It was about reclaiming the space. Making it mine again. Not ours. Not hers. Just mine. In the afternoon, I walked downtown and bought myself a new coffee mug. One I picked, not part of a matching set, just a single, heavy, ceramic thing that fit my hand like it belonged there. When I came home, I made coffee, strong, black, the way she used to tease me about, and sat in that old chair. Looked out at nothing in particular. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I didn't feel like I was waiting on anyone. Not waiting to be chosen. Not waiting for an apology. Just not waiting. The silence didn't hurt anymore. It felt earned. A week passed. Then, out of nowhere, I got a message from someone I hadn't heard from in years. Anna. We'd gone on a few dates years ago, before Megan. Nothing serious. She'd moved to Portland for work, and we lost touch. I always remembered her as kind, sharp-witted in a way that didn't need to prove itself. Someone who asked real questions and actually listened to the answers. Her message was simple. Said she'd heard I wasn't with Megan anymore. Said she was sorry, not in that performative way people use to sneak in curiosity, but genuinely sorry. She said she remembered how I used to talk about building something solid with someone, that she hoped I hadn't given up on that. I sat with that for a while. Didn't rush to respond. Not because I wasn't interested, just because it felt good to be reminded that some people remember you for who you are, not who you were with. Later that night, I wrote her back. Told her it had been a rough few months. Told her I hadn't given up, just needed to rebuild from the foundation up. She replied almost immediately. Said she'd be in Billings next month visiting her sister. Said she'd love to grab a drink. No pressure, just catching up. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel a tightness in my chest at the thought of seeing someone again. I felt calm, curious even, not in a rushing back into anything way. Not in a this'll show her kind of revenge fantasy. Just calm, like I was finally meeting my own life again, not someone else's plan. Outside, the sky turned that kind of dusky blue Montana does better than anywhere else. And inside, I let myself hope. Just a little. Not for someone to complete me. Just for someone who sees me clearly. She called at 2:17 a.m. I almost didn't answer. The name flashing across my screen felt foreign, like a number I should have deleted but hadn't. I stared at it long enough for it to go dark, then lit up again. The second time I picked up, not a hope, just to end the wondering. Her voice was quiet, too quiet. She asked if I was awake. I didn't answer that part. She said she didn't know who else to call, that she'd gone back to Bozeman and it wasn't what she thought. That Tyler had changed. Or maybe hadn't changed at all. She sounded not broken, just tired, like someone finally realizing they weren't the main character in the story they wrote. I didn't say much. Let her talk. She went in circles about mistakes, about being scared, about wanting to make things right. Then she said the line that used to pull me back every time, "I miss us." I almost laughed, because us had become a placeholder, a way to avoid admitting she didn't miss me. Not really. She missed being chosen, being safe, being believed. I told her I hoped she found peace, that I hoped whatever she was running from finally stopped chasing her. And then I said something I never thought I would. I don't miss us. There was silence. Heavy, real, the kind that doesn't ask for more words. She didn't cry. She didn't beg. Just whispered okay and hung up. I stared at the ceiling for a long time after that, letting the quiet stretch out like a clean sheet. Not empty, just mine. 2 weeks later, I mailed the ring back. Not to her, to her mother. No note, no explanation. Just a box, sealed and padded, like it had never been opened. I figure it was better that way. Not an act of cruelty, just finality. A full stop instead of another trailing sentence. Spring came late to Billings that year. Snow lingered like an old argument no one wanted to end. But one morning I opened the windows and didn't shiver. Just breathed. I started sleeping through the night again. No dreams. Number 3 a.m. replay of old conversations. Just sleep quiet and earned. My house no longer felt haunted. Her sweater stopped smelling like her. The boxes in the guest room didn't whisper anymore. Anna texted when she got into town. Said her sister's place was chaos. Asked if I wanted to meet somewhere quiet. We picked a coffee shop tucked behind a bookstore downtown. Nothing fancy, just simple, comfortable. She wore no makeup, hair in a loose braid. She smiled like she meant it, not like she needed it to be understood. We talked for 2 hours without checking our phones once. When she got up to leave, she asked if I wanted to do it again. I said yes, not because I needed it, but because I wanted it. That was new. Later that night, I sat on the porch with a beer in hand, the old chair creaking beneath me like it was glad to be used again. And I thought about how strange it is the way we survive things. Not with fireworks or revenge speeches, but with small, stubborn acts of choosing ourselves. Megan is gone. The wedding is off. The future I imagined dissolved the second she chose someone else over silence with me. And honestly, thank God.